Hey everybody, I wanted to do a quick little video on TELPAS writing. This was something I've been working on this year, trying to understand how to understand what's going on with TELPAS writing, and then how to try to get some leverage for the students as far as when they are doing the TELPAS. I know we're towards the end of the school year, and so I wanted to share something that I put together before kids took the TELPAS writing assessment, and then I've added a few things to it. Um, but moving forward, I think this can be helpful if you're looking at your TELPAS data and noticing a pattern where writing is lagging. And I think I've kind of come across some things. I don't know. Obviously, we have to see how the scores come back for the kids this year, but really trying to answer the question of what is really being assessed. Um, and because I think we make a lot of speculations a lot of times, and it was kind of surprising to me to what I came across. So first, let's just look at these are the conversion tables. So for second, third, they each have their own conversion table, and then fourth and fifth share a conversion table. So you can see, for example, in second grade, there's a total of 30 possible points, and then this is the breakdown. I looked more in depth at probably fourth grade, fifth grade, but there's some third and second grade in there too. So here's third grade. You see 30 possible points. Here's the difference again. I don't know why it's not letting me click. Go back. I'll go back. Let me. Oh, why is it? Why does this have? There we go. All right. So here's second grade. So for example, you need 22 points in second grade to get to advanced high. You need 24 points in third grade out of 30. So you just need a couple more points between second and third grade. This is fourth and fifth grade, so there's a lot more points on the table. So you've got 42 total points, and you need to get 35 out of the 42 to get advanced high, and 26 out of the 42 to get into the advanced. I've noticed for a lot of students who are reclassifying, they often will get at least 2 advanced high scores in domains, and then they might be looking at like a writing advanced, or the writing is usually one that's advanced. So you're still in the ballpark if you can get 26 out of 42. So how is that broken down? Here's how it's broken down. So this is the total points available. So there's actually, out of the 42 possible points, there's 6 individual questions that are worth 1 point each that are kind of grammar focused. So that's 6 points, and then there will be 3 writing prompts, each of those worth 12 points. So it's a total of 36. So you have basically 36 points on the table for writing and 6 for kind of grammar. So if you go back and you look, remember, you're going to need at least 35 points to be hitting advanced high, and 26. The next thing I did, well, I guess I'm having trouble getting this to cooperate. The next thing I did was thought it would be helpful to look at like what do the grammar questions look like. So this is some questions from the 2025 released test. Just choosing the correct kind of form of the verb. Have you eaten lunch today? Just choosing correct words to fill in sentences. We're not going to spend a lot of time looking at this, but each one of these is for 1 point, and they also like to do where they give you an incorrect word. You have to write the correct word in there. What costume is you like to wear? This one's kind of, I don't know, I wasn't crazy about this question. But obviously she got this incorrect. Do you like to wear? And then they have these where it's like there's one error, you have to choose which one is the error and then write the correct word there. So it's 2 parts, but 1 point. So here's a writing prompt, one of the 12-point writing prompts for 4th grade. So imagine you invented a robot that could do small jobs inside and outside your home. Write about 3 jobs robot could do. And then I went in and actually pulled some student responses from that different score values to say, like, what does a 12-point response actually look like? What does a 6-point response actually look like? Um, so what I did was I brought students in before the assessment, and we just made observations. Like, here's a 12-point response. I think this one is from like the manual. This is their example. And so I think a lot of times as teachers, we look at this, and this is the expectation, right, for an advanced high, to get 12 out of 12 points. It's obviously it's lengthy. We're not going to read all of it, but you can just scan it and you see that it's got good punctuation. Um, it's organized. Um, it's adding a lot of detail. It's got, transitions, stuff. Really solid response for a fourth grade kid. So I was like, well, what did our fourth grade kids look like? So I thought this was interesting. You can go in and you can pull it up, and like, for example, this was 245 words. So this was one of the big takeaways for me. Was I feel like that the TELPAS is yes, we like to look at advanced high with content, vocabulary, and communicating clearly, and it'd be structured and organized and have all the grammar. But remember, this is just like it's not a finished draft. It's just like a first draft for a test. So obviously, if they can just do like a very well polished first draft, that's great. But not many students in fourth grade can do a polished draft on the first attempt. So this got 12 out of 12 points. And if you look at it, it's lengthy. It's got 245 words. But if you look closely at it, it's like there's not much punctuation in it. So if I were to invent a robot to do jobs for me inside and outside of my house, I would make the robot do many jobs, like clean up my paperwork and my taekwondo, known as martial arts type of sport uniform, and clean up any spills and give my cat a shower, because it's quite hard to give a cat a shower. But they just have to be calm first, because if they're already running around with tons of energy, they wouldn't be able to calm down after a minute because of the energy they already have in their body. They would like to run off when getting wet, because their cats, I think, are quite sensitive of getting wet, and they do not like getting touched on their bellies too. And I would like my robot to fix my dirt bike brakes and other things, because I'm not good at that. And I would like my robot to make me money so I could buy a new dirt bike with new designs with my name on it and good suspension. And the robot would be able to do all of that only if I invented the robot to do things like that. So you get the idea. Like, it flows. It has a lot of good vocabulary. It answers the prompt with details, but it's not a perfect draft. So I look at that and I say, wow, you got 12 out of 12 points. There must be looking at, can you provide lots of details that are meaningful to the prompt, right, with some good vocabulary. It doesn't have to be a perfect, like, polished essay. So again, the focus is the language of writing. How much language can you use when you write? So anyway, that was insightful for me. So it's 12 for 12 points there. So let's look at one that got 6 of 12 points. It's only 31 words. So this was the big thing that I tried to focus on with students, was you've got to put some volume in there. And, not just writing words that don't make sense, but continuing with answering the prompt. Like, what else can you say with that? What other details can you write about that? Answering the, where and who and how and all those things. So here's one. It got 6 points, which is not terrible. It said, I would let my robot do the laundry, folding my clothes, put it in my closet in the right place. I would let it water my plant and play my game. So it's very, not a lot of details. If you go back and you look, so I just had the students look, like, you got half the points there and you got all the points here. What's the difference? The difference is you took time to put some details in there, some volume of writing. Here's one for 3 of 12 points. And this is my frustration sometimes with students, is they're like, well, I answered the question, but obviously to do the dishes and and clean for me and play soccer with me and me brothers. Okay, 3 of 12 points. So did they answer the question? Yes, but did they provide a lot of language and support and details? No. So again, 16 words, not enough volume. Let's look at another one. This one's where they have to basically look at the pictures. Okay, what's happened? Describe where the story takes place. Write about what the problem is. Tell what the characters say and how they feel. So let's look at some here. This one got 12 out of 12 points. I think this one is, again, the example from like the TELPAS manual. Again, it looks very polished, and I think sometimes as teachers or as the specialists who are supporting TELPAS, we feel like our students need to be writing perfectly in order to get that advanced high. Because this is what we're shown, if you look at the rubric, it's a very high standard. But like in reality, what kind of scores are students getting? So this one was 12 out of 12 points. 170 words. Again, a good volume. Like I told my students, is like you need to be at least 150 words. So we would practice writing, and we'd use word count to see how many words we're writing. You've got to put some volume in there. So that was like a good sort of scaffold for them, was word count. Like after you write, we found like how to count the words and what you wrote, and like, are you above 100? Are you at 150? Can you get to 200 words, writing about this? So let's look at this one. The story setting takes place in outside and then inside to a room and probably to a kitchen, because where else would they eat? And I think there's a problem because the boy in the green shirt with the curly hair and the brown pants and white shoes with a gift comes in and gives the gift to the boy in the top hat and a cape. And they all look at the boy with the green shirt, and after that, the boy in the top hat and red cape gives him a costume to wear. And the characters probably say, like, whenever the boy comes in the green shirt, they're probably confused on why he didn't come but brought a gift. So the boy in the top hat and cape gives the boy in the green shirt a costume to wear at the party. So they felt confused, but after to the end, they felt happy, and the problem gets solved because he now has a costume. Is that a perfectly polished, like, story? It's not perfectly polished. So again, we see, like, can you put the volume in there? Can you use some good vocabulary? Can you answer the prompt? They talked about the characters. They talked about the problem. So I think this is helpful, that we don't have to make students feel like it's perfect. Like you're just writing your first draft. Do the best you can. Write as clearly as you can, and write with some volume. And I think you're going to be rewarded for that. Again, there's not a lot of punctuation. There's some errors in there. I got 12 out of 12 points. Okay, here's one that's 6 out of 12 points. The boy give a present, then the boy with the green shirt forgot to wear a costume to the party, so the other boy gave him a costume. Now they are eating pizza at the table. This is a popular type response I feel like students give. I answered it, right? But it's just, there's not enough detail there. It's only 36 words. So again, I think the word count helps students understand, like, if you want to get the points, your word count needs to be 150 plus. Okay, if you're writing 36 words, you're not writing enough. You're not using enough language to describe what's happening there. You need more volume. Okay, so this was 5 of 8 points. So this is probably a 3rd grade, yeah, because 4th and 5th grade have 12 points. So we will come back and look at this, because I gotta go.